How you doing, Terry, this morning?
Wow. It's great.
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years of wisdom, 5 years of experience. You know, the interesting thing is that we have never, we've been working from home for over 20-some years. In fact, guess what I realized this morning while I was getting ready for this call? Yes, it's been 25 years since we got involved in network marketing, right around the summertime of 1983. And so, yeah, we've definitely had our shares of ups and downs. We've definitely, I would say, had our challenges, just like everybody does in life. Certainly, all business people have their challenges, their ups and downs. And yes, a lot have changed over those years. I mean, we were involved in the industry before there was even a video. I can remember when the very first video cassette came out, and we made a big deal. We had several hundred people in a room to watch the very first video. So I guess we're really dating ourselves. Now we have videos online. And so what a lot of you don't know is all the challenges that we went through trying to make a living, And in fact, a lot of you have seen our famous truck 12 years ago. This is our primary method of transportation. One thing that I haven't talked much about is that there's a reason that I use over 20 years working from home. I guess I'm going to have to say that 25 years working from home is because there was a number of years there where we were just completely burned out. We were sick and tired of the hype that we saw in the industry, and we actually did other work-at-home projects. And in fact, it wasn't until 1995 that we got back involved in the industry and started to make some money. And from that point in time, we learned a lot, and we grew a lot. And but at the same time, we had to do other things to make money. Terry, I mean, some of the things that we did out of the back of this truck to make money, we don't even want to talk about today. But you were talking the other day about one of the things that you used to do many years ago. Fill them in on that.
Oh, it wasn't that many years ago, This was really like about 8 years ago, and we knew that we needed to bring some money in to pay the mortgage and to pay the light bills. And yes, we had a small residual income from one of the picture shows that we were at, but it wasn't going to pay all the bills. And part of this story, nobody knows this story except very few of you out there, probably a handful of people. But, I'm a gardener at heart. And so what I decided to do, a job that I decided to take on, is I would go in and I would actually harvest people's gardens and bring their vegetables home and can them for them. Now, you have to visualize this, you guys. At one point in one day, I had 100 cases of jars in the spare bedroom, 100 cases, and there's 12 jars in a case, so that's 1,200 jars that I had to fill. Now, I used to call them marathons, because I would be, when vegetables are on, when the corn is on, or I'm making soups and stews and chicken and beef, when things are on, you had to can them right away. It's not like I could wait on those vegetables for 3 or 4 days. And so, yes, Betsy, the truck, we would drive there. Art would help me. We would harvest people's gardens, take it all off, cabbages, broccoli, whatever was on, and I would make soups and stews with their garden. And so I would do these marathons. I'd get up at 5 in the morning, and I would actually work until 10 at night, and then I had to clean my kitchen. And I would do marathons 3 to 4 days in a row to get these vegetables done. And so that was the job that I did. So you can imagine, you guys, what a joy and what a treat it is for me to do Zango when I can get up when I want and I can do what I want and I can go out to my own garden and tend to it, my own flowers. And that's why we have such a beautiful yard with our Japanese garden and our waterfall, because that is my passion, is my yard and my flowers. But that was a time that was really difficult, because I knew that this money was paying for bills, and yet I knew we had to do something, and that was something that I knew to do. And so that's one of the stories that nobody knows out there.
That's a great story. And I was thinking, how did we get out of that situation? How were we able to change and get out of that? You know, it didn't happen overnight. And I know, I would say going back about 7, 8 years ago, I can remember having this thought within me that just said, you know what, I'm just sick and tired of being in lack. And I realized how much time I spent on a daily basis worried about, concerned about money, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, that I just had this such fierce determination come up inside of me that says, I'm going to change this, and I want to see what it's like. I want to know what it's like, what it would feel like to not have to worry about money. I would like to see what my consciousness would be like, what would be my level of peace. And I can tell you, money is not the answer to all of your problems, and there's still going to be issues and still going to be learning and lots of things to gain, whether you've got money or not. But I can tell you that that was where that willful passion came from a number of years ago, and I just had this fierce determination to change our circumstances. And so let's get into what happened. How did we sort of get involved in Zango? It's a pretty interesting story, and this is really the beginning of our network right here. As many of you have heard before, the company we were with in June of 2003, we woke up one Monday morning and nobody was answering the phones. This was not a professionally run company. It was a mom-and-pop operation, really, and basically the management team just outlived their experience level. They got bigger than what they knew how to properly manage, and so we were without any we lost our check overnight. There was nobody answering the phones, and we had a little bit of residual income coming in from a company that we weren't no longer working, but that was it. And just when we were thinking about what are we going to do next, we finally came to the conclusion this company was not going to get back on its feet. Even though it did reopen the doors, it did finally, a year or two later, eventually close completely. And so we got this. We just about the time, you know, I really believe this. When one door closes, another door can open if you're open for it, right? So we got this 13-page fax in July, just 5 years ago now, from somebody we didn't really know, and you know, all about this Zango, and we didn't even know how to pronounce it. And you know, we didn't. Well, actually, I was pretty annoyed at this person. Really, I mean, nobody sends faxes anymore. And so we got this. We got online and we went searching, and we found the MyMangosteen.com team, and we said, "Wow, here's a great internet site." I mean, I love the internet, right? I mean, we live at home, we work in the country. I believe that you've got to be online these days, and so that's basically how we got involved. We found MyMangosteen.com, and it's been a great marriage. And they provide an incredible website. And so what happened is, on a Saturday night, Terry, you remember this very, very distinctly. I hauled you into the office here to have a look at this, and we actually watched the original Joe's Story online.
I'll never forget that moment in time because, you know, artists told me about quite a few different things in our lifetime over the 25 years. And I was always very agreeable and said, yeah, okay, dear, you go ahead. But when I saw Joe's story, there was a passion and a love in Joe that came through that computer screen. And I turned to Art, I remember after seeing it, I actually had tears in my eyes. And I said to him, this is it. This is the one. And he says, no, I got to kick the tires. I've got to, you know, look at the company, like, you know, we've just come through a really bad picture show, the last one, you know, I'm gonna make sure this is really what it is. And I said, no, this is it. You get me that juice. And I kept saying to him every day, did you get my juice? And Art kept saying, well, I'm not finished my research yet. And I'd say to him, I just want that juice. Get that juice. You know, and so finally, I don't know how much time actually.
It was at least a couple of weeks.
And I just couldn't believe him. I said, I just want the juice. If you could get it for me, I think it would really do some wonderful things for my body. And I knew there was such a strong knowingness, you guys, such a strong passion within me that I knew this was going to be big.
Yeah, and in fact, it was around, this is the weekend of our 5-year anniversary, and we were so fortunate. Think of the timing of this, guys. It was Joe's story that was the trigger point for pulling us into the business, and here Joe Morton was coming to the Marriott Hotel in Seattle about a couple weeks later. And so this is the group that we took with us to that meeting. Rod and Shannon Culp. We were 1K distributors to our first meeting, yeah. These guys were a preferred rep. Rod and Shannon are the first ones to sign up, and we had been involved in the other company that went belly up. A lot of people think, oh, you've been involved in the industry all of these years. Oh, you must have had a big following. I can tell you, people are not stupid enough to follow you from one disaster to the next, you know. But we had one or two loyal people that did. Actually, Rod and Shannon were the first ones to sign up, and the first person that Rod sent an email to was Cliff Rosang, a premier from Canada. And in fact, Cliff was fishing at the time, which he's doing right now. Cliff is fishing right now, right. So we know it's right around the same time. He goes up for a couple weeks, and this was his dream was to have a network that when he came back from his fishing season, he'd have something. And Cliff joined shortly thereafter over the computer, even though he wasn't even back in the country. He was up in Alaska. And Rod and Shannon Culp, both of them 100K premiers were there. And Terry, we sat and spent an hour and a half. I went up to Joe Morton, and I said, gosh, you know, I'm really excited about this. I'd like to spend some time with you. I've got some questions for after the meeting. You know, he says, well, yeah, if you want to wait until everybody's gone, that's how these founders are. If you want to wait till everybody's gone, I mean, I'll spend some time. We spent an hour and a half with him, Terry, around a lounge table at the Marriott Hotel.
You know, I'll never forget that time because it was as special as the time that I saw Joe on the internet, on the website there, and watched Joe's story. Is Joe put a bottle of the juice in the center of the table, and the lady was kind enough at the bar to give everybody one of the little shot glasses. And, you know, everybody kind of filled their nice little shot glass, and I'm like, well, that's nice. You guys go ahead and drink your ounce, but, you know, I know my body could really use this juice. And so in the hour and a half, you guys, I drank 3/4 of the bottle of that juice. And I was like, oh, my gosh. I said, Terry, you shouldn't have done that. You know how sensitive your body is. Like, why would you do that? And I kind of looked at the bottle, and there was maybe about 1/4 of the juice in the bottle left. And I turned and I looked at Joe, and he kind of smiled at me because over the conversation, he asked me if I had a few issues with my body. I told him it was my digestive system. I've been working on it, and over the years it's gotten better, but I really felt like this juice was going to take me to another level of health. And so anyways, I looked at that 1/4 of the bottle that was left, and I said, you know what, Joe's not going to take that home on the plane. I could really use that juice. And so I drank the rest of the bottle, you guys. I couldn't believe I did that. And at the end of the meeting, I was the last one to hug Joe. And Joe said to me, I was so glad, Terry, you had the courage to drink all of that juice because your body's going to love you tomorrow. And, you know, it did. And I was so excited because I did have enough courage to drink that juice. And so that was the beginning of a whole new adventure for us.
You know, that was the time, Terry, when we really got a sense for what an incredible company we had. That Joe would spend, you know, in the 20-plus years that we've been in the industry and working with other companies in the past, there was never a time that a founder sat down with us for a private meeting or gave us their cell phone or anything like that. And talking to Joe and seeing how smart he was and how passionate he was, and I realized there was 5 other founders back there that were just as talented as him that could probably start their own company, and I was wowed. And so I knew we were onto something big. You can see Kent Wood there over on the left next to the Sardas, another one of the founders. Great picture of Aaron Raskin in the background there with his new baby, 100K Premier. So let's get into it. What did we learn the last 5 years? What has worked? What hasn't worked? This is certainly our number one point here. You've got to create the mindset first. You've got to have the mindset for this. Number one, you got to treat it like a business. And, you know, as I look back, I realized that that's one of the talents that I had, that I brought to the table in network marketing, is I always looked at this as a business. I treated it like a business. And I think probably a lot of you on the phone here, this is more like a hobby than it is a real business. So what is the difference between a hobby and a real business? What does treating it like a business really look like? To me, I think the difference is the level of commitment and the level of effort that you put into your business. Certainly it has to do with buying tools and creating your workspace and all of those kinds of things. But treating it like a business and then being coachable, it's amazing to me. And this is one of the things I think that I was most surprised. I'm not so surprised anymore. But after 2 or 3 years, we hit 500K Premier, and I realized that there were people on our own team that were no longer listening to us. In fact, they were so smart, they didn't even need to come on the webinars and learn anymore, And so I realized that people are not always coachable, but yet if you've not achieved the kind of success that you're looking for, why wouldn't you listen and follow the teachings and the success of others who have been successful? Isn't that what works in all parts of society? So you've got to be coachable, and you've got to be prepared to learn. You've got to make a real commitment to it. And that's the other difference between somebody who treats it like a business and somebody who treats it like a hobby, is the hobbyist will work their business for 30 days and give up, or 90 days and give up. Or they'll work like heck for a week, and then the following week they will forget to talk to anybody, or they won't follow up on their packets that they've got out.
I gotta put it down.
I'm muted.
So, that seems to be the difference to me is you've got to make that commitment. You should be thinking about 1, 2, 3, 5 years in this business. I mean, how do you expect to become successful in 90 days? And I know there's that sort of image out there in the industry that I really don't like about some sort of a get-rich-quick thing. I'm telling you, the get-rich-quick things always fold up like a tent because they're not based on the foundation. It takes time to build a business based on the fundamental principles of people that love your product, are not just in it for the money, and will order the product over and over again. And the other thing that you've got to have is some goals and dreams. You've got to have a why, you've got to have a dream, because I'm telling you, if you don't find your purpose, your reason for doing your business, when the first cold wind blows, you're out of here, right? And so you've got to have a dream. You should have a long-term goal, and you should also have a monthly goal based on the compensation plan. In fact, what are you trying to do this month? What is your goal this month? Can you create a new 1K leg this month for one of your 1Ks to get you closer to 5K? This was one of the secrets to our success to getting to 500K. We always knew what we needed to do next, and every month we worked towards that next step in the compensation plan that would take us closer to our goal. And you know what we realized? That people that do not have a goal for the month virtually do nothing much more than what they did last month. But if you could see a goal that you can achieve this month, you will work 10 times as hard. There's a week left in this month. What are you going to do with it? So you should have a goal of something you're trying to accomplish. If you're not yet a 1K, you can easily be a 1K before the end of the month. If you have anyone in your downline that has sponsored one person, they can easily be a 1K by the end of this month. And so you've got to focus in on those goals and helping people get to 1K, helping people get to 5K, and moving on up the compensation plan. Otherwise, you're floundering around without any distinct purpose. Terry, and one of the things that you did is when you started your dream, you put up what you wanted the most in your dream. I was worried about paying off the bills, but you had some wonderful dreams here. And this is a picture of your computer when we got started.
Now, that was my computer, and every morning I came in because, you see, you got to understand, when Art and I decided to do this as a business, I remember turning to Art that first Monday morning, and instead of moving the furniture all around and getting your files all prepared and all of that, I turned to him on our chairs, and because we share the same den, and I said, what can I do? You see, in those 25 years, I was always the mail-out lady. I did all the mail-out packages, and that was great. That was a really important job. But I knew that I had such passion for Zango. I knew that I needed to kick it up another notch. I knew that I needed to participate more. I knew that I needed to grow. And so as you can see on the computer, I wanted a car. I had not had a car in 22 years of my own car. And so that was definitely a dream that I had. And then I wanted to go to Phuket, Thailand to be a premier, to have the experience, to see the children there, and to take my empty suitcase filled with gifts for the children at Phuket to an orphanage. I mean, there's nothing greater than seeing the smiles on those little children's faces, giving them a lollipop, you guys, and they don't even know that they need to take the wrapper off because they've never had one. I mean, that will touch your heart, okay? And so this was very exciting, but I had to have an action step. I said to her, what can I do? And he says, well, why don't you phone people and say hello? And I'm like, say hello? And he says, well, like, just phone and see if they got their juice. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Well, you can't imagine how heavy that phone was. And I'm going to talk about follow-up because that's what I was doing was I was doing follow-up. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But that was my, okay, Art just put that up. So when I did follow-up, you got to understand, I'm living with Art Manville. He's the phone man, not me. So I really had to step out of my comfort zone. I had to grow into this, you guys. This was not easy. Canning to me and doing the garden and cooking and doing that stuff, that's my forte. That's my job thing that I love to do. But phoning people, this is not who I was back then. So I really had to step out and step up. And so I would print off those papers every morning of new people that just came in from all of our downline. I didn't care where they were from. They were from our whole downline because we always cared about our team. We knew that if we cared about our team, we would always be successful. And so I phoned all of those people, and I remember the first time picking that phone up, I closed the den door, and I went into the kitchen living room area, and I didn't want Art to hear me because I didn't know what I was going to say. But now I see the power within that. I saw that I was reaching out to help people. Did they get their juice? Did they shake the bottle? Are they taking it properly? You know, like, it was amazing. People were so grateful that I phoned them. They were so excited that I cared enough about them. You see, because that's what it's about. It's about helping people get results on this great juice. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about Art. It wasn't about making money. It was always been about caring about people. And you will find in your organizations that there are people out there that sincerely care about those people. Those are the people that pick up the phone. Those are the people that are successful. It's not about the money, you guys. It's, oh, by the way, you get paid if you do that. But follow-up was my key. Follow-up is my passion. I now do coaching calls on follow-up, and it's the most wonderful thing because these people have to get an experience on this juice. And so what a greater thing to do but to pick up the phone and really do that.
Yeah, that's great, Terry. We're kind of decided to change the order of events there. You saw the fortune and the follow-up we were going to talk about later, but it just seemed to tie so well into her conversation that we moved follow-up forward. And I've got a picture now of Krista and the Deb Pazzo team on here. And actually, Krista was one of the persons that have taken the follow-up of following up on your new members. You know, you've taught it to a lot of people, Terry, and I can tell you that very few have followed your lead. You know, I can tell you that. You know, there's a lot of you out there listening to this that really don't do much follow-up. And I'm not just talking about following up with your own members. I'm talking about taking ownership over your entire downline and following up anywhere in your organization that you had business. And Krista followed us. When we taught her something, she was like a sponge, and away she went to work and started doing follow-up right away. And she saw this person. We saw Deb come into the business and some sponsoring going on, and she reached way down really in her organization and started working with that group. And gosh, she's nurtured them along the way, and now they are some of the hottest leaders doing a great job up there in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. She met with Deb when Deb was passing through Kelowna, and a whole new network has been developed because she reached down into her organization and did follow-up. And Deb just hit 20K this last month, which we're really proud of.
And so did Carol. And so has Carol.
She's not 20K yet, but she's going to be there soon.
She is. I just know it, right, Deb?
So that's the power of follow-up, you know, and taking ownership over your downline. And so this is another thing to being coachable. You know, isn't it amazing? This is the thing that set us apart. And in fact, a lot of people have never heard of the word follow-up. And yet, of all the people in our downline, here we're 500K premiers, we have over 30,000 members, and there's members of our team that have never done any of the kind of follow-up that Terry has done. In fact, a lot of them don't even call their own members, never mind members from other parts of their team. And so that comes back to being coachable, I mean, we tell you these things because they work, And so I suggest that you start, especially if you're at least a 5K, maybe even an aggressive 1K, you start by calling all new members that come into your downline. And we're not going to get any more into follow-up here, but there is a webinar in the back office of Becoming a Premier. You can learn all about it, and we're going to get Krista and Terry on here and do a new one here probably before the end of the summer. So, Terry, it's powerful.
There's only one thing I want to add to that, Art. I think also going deep into the downline and taking ownership, those are all your people, too. So if somebody is hot down there, phone them. Reach out to them. There's nothing quite like picking up the phone and saying hello and seeing if they need anything. Did they get a mail-out package? See how you can help them. But take ownership of those people.
Yeah, and another thing that I wanted to mention, Terry, I've got a slide here. I just lost it a second. I wanted to bring up is I love this slide and of Joe Morton basically saying your dreams are safe with Zango. That is so powerful. Just to finish off the part on creating your dreams and creating the mindset, we've got a company here that we can count on. And it's not going anywhere, right? I would never, one of the secrets to the success that we have had in the industry, in spite of all of the ups and downs, is we always knew how to pick companies that already had a track record. I've never been involved in a pre-launch. I've never been involved in a company that hadn't had some at least solid volume growth. And Zango was already doing $3 million a month. If I hadn't seen that kind of validity, I wouldn't have gambled on it. And so your dreams are safe. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to achieve your dream if you know the company's going to be there. And I know there's a lot of companies that are, in fact, I'll tell you this, Zango has revitalized the entire network marketing industry because of its record-breaking growth. And there's a lot of companies that would love to be like Zango, but they only come along maybe once in a lifetime or once in a decade. And we are the ones that have set the pace and will continue to do so over the next 5 or 10 years.
Not only that, but we're the buzz out there in the networking field. What is Zango doing? What can we do that Zango's doing?
So the next step here, next principle, we're going to have to move a little quicker here, is work the system. Yes, we do have a system that we've been teaching, and it hasn't really changed that much. We basically have analyzed what's worked and turned it into a step-by-step system. In the beginning, because Terry joined through the mymangostein.com website, we thought everybody that went there will just sign up. That's what worked for us. But we discovered right away that wasn't the case for everybody, and so we started mailing out information packets. And we found that when you mailed out an information packet after somebody had been to the website, suddenly they started to sign up. So the website got their attention. It's an instant thing, 24/7, but then an information packet following up on that is what makes it very, very powerful. And then several years later, we created the BecomingAPremier.com website to handle all of our training. And so this is our basic system, and these are like principles, right? So we're not telling you what to say to people, but we're showing you how to expose it to them. First of all, get them to your website, give them an information packet, follow up on that. Do the three-way call, if possible, with as many people as possible. Get people on conference calls and webinars. Get them to events, juice parties, meetings, etc., and convention. This is all a step-by-step process, and this happens with absolutely everybody if you're smart. And I see people that skip the info pack, or they start talking to people without getting info packs out, and they're finding, wow, I'm just not really getting the results. So that's an important part. You have to follow up on those info packs, or nothing much is going to happen. And then if you can use the three-way call, getting people on conference calls, this is the rest of our system that you've heard about before. And then we also like to talk about the inner and the outer, right? The inner are the dreams and the goals that you've got. And you've got to have your dreams and goals. and the outer are the action steps. So you've got to have both. You can have all the dreams and goals that you want, but if you don't pick up the phone Monday morning to do something about it, those dreams and goals, as we have said before, are like hallucinations. They don't really get any place. So you've got to have but you can go out and do all of the actions that you want. And I've had people go out there, Art, I'm passing out brochures. Yes, I'm meeting lots of people. I'm giving them information, and I'm not getting anything back. I know that their inner game is off track. Either they're not caring about people, they're not getting into conversations with people, or they really don't have a proper mindset for this business, and their inner game needs work on. They need to work on their belief. If you're not signing people up, maybe it's because you don't really believe in what you're doing, and you need to see what you can do to increase your belief. And so they both have to line up, the inner and the outer. And then you've got to be the leader that you want others to follow. And this is my saying. I really should put my name down on it. That's a quote. You have to be the leader that you want others to follow. You know, you can't, I'm telling you what, a lot of your team are kind of like children. If you've ever raised children, you know that they tend to do as you do, not as you tell them to do, you know? It's like if you smoke, your children are going to tend to smoke, even if you tell them it's bad for them and they shouldn't do it, right? Smokers have a very high percentage of their children that smoke compared to non-smokers. Wouldn't you agree? So that's the same thing with your downline. If you want them to do something, if you would like them to start sponsoring people, then you've got to sponsor people. If you want them to get out information packets to their downline and you think those are a great idea, then you've got to get information packets out. If you think three-way calling is a good idea, then you've got to do three-way calling. You see, they're not, it would be nice, okay? It would be nice, but it's rare that any of your downline actually will outperform you. And so the good news is that your downline and what they're doing and how they're working their business is a reflection of yourself. That's the good news, and that's also could be the bad news. And so if you want the behavior of your downline to change, then you've got to change your behavior. So you've got to do, and that's why we came up with this whole concept of becoming a premier. So if you have decided, as I have said many times in our teachings, to become a premier, then you must do now what premiers do. We started having conference calls when we were 1Ks, right? And we've been having them every weekend since for 5 years. I bet you it's 5 years in August since our first conference call. So you got to ask yourself, what do premiers do? They go to events, right? You know, they get they do follow-up, they do all of the things that we've been teaching them. I got this instant message from one of our team leaders 3 days ago. I thought this was so powerful. Had a light bulb moment. He says, funny, when I got my edge back, the rest of the team started in motion. Yeah, I'm telling you, it is so true. And if you see that your business is slipping, oh gosh, I see this so much. If you see that suddenly people have lost their spark in their downline, guess what? You have lost your spark. There's no secret to it. Intention does not lie. What you see is what you got. When you get your spark back, they get their spark back. It's just how it works, you know. It's a funny business that way. Okay, that's Deb and the team. Sponsoring is the lifeblood of your business. And if there's one thing that you have to do in order to be successful in Zango or any other network marketing business is you've got to constantly sponsor and bring in new people. And this is the gift that I got from our very first sponsor back over 25 years ago. He was a master sponsor, and he drilled it into my head. His name was Larry Shine, and I owe him a lot. He brought us into the industry, and he went on to make over $1 million a year. And by the way, he made his highest income after we quit and gave up, by the way, after we got burned out, when we left it and we actually sold that distributorship. And that's when we got out of the industry. We went through many, many challenges there, but he taught us Sponsoring is the lifeblood, and you've always got to be bringing in new people. Why? Because you're always going to have people dropping out of your business. There are always going to be people quitting. I'm telling you, and I have said this before, I tell the truth out there, even people that get results on this juice are going to stop taking it. So what can you do about that? You only have one solution if that is the truth, and that is to constantly bring in new people. So if you're not sponsoring people, your business is dying. I hate to tell you that. You've got to be sponsoring people, because guess what? If you stop sponsoring, your team will start sponsoring. We just covered that thing. So if you want your team to keep sponsoring, you got to keep sponsoring. I'm telling you, this is one of the keys right here. And if you're not happy with how your business is going right now, just go into MyZango back office and bring up the production report, okay, and count the number of people that you have personally sponsored in the last month or this year. Or look at your power bonus checks for bringing in new members. How many power bonuses are you getting? Those are from you sponsoring people, and if you're on a 2-case ADP, for them sponsoring people. Those power bonuses are an indication of how much actual work you're doing with the most important task at hand, bringing in new people. If you don't have power bonuses coming in and you're getting small power bonus checks, that's a clue that your business is starting to shrink. If your power bonus checks are growing and getting big, then that's a sign that your business is growing. And so that is a real look in the mirror situation here as to what you're really putting your attention on. Sponsoring is the lifeblood. You've got to do it. And you know what? It's fun and it's exciting, and it will give you your spark. If you haven't sponsored anybody in a long time, Terry, you're not going to get the excitement of following up and helping them get results and getting that new charge from seeing somebody getting on this juice and getting results. Which means you've got to care about people, right? And so that comes to the next point, Terry, and I know this is one of your favorite things, is getting the juice out, you know, and caring about people enough to share this juice with them.
It's really important. This is the key to the whole thing, you guys, is sharing the juice and getting the juice out and helping people. You know, everybody needs this juice, from children all the way up to the elderly. You know, I really don't like getting the calls when some people have gone to the doctors and the doctors have sent them home and said there's nothing we can do to help you. And then I get the call saying that, well, can we try this juice? You know, I would rather have, like Krista's little girls that used to have flus and colds, I would rather get those people on the juice when they're little and now do not have their colds and flus because their immune system is stronger. Remember, what this juice is doing is it's going in and it's going in to rebalance your body. Wherever your body is not balanced, the juice will go in and do that. And so it's so important. Why would you not want to share this juice, this gift, with somebody, whether it's at the post office, whether it's at the bank, or whether it's your mail lady? You know, why would you not want this person to always be healthy? So the juice, getting the juice out is the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm looking and I'm saying, you know, as we look and analyze our downline, the Deb Pazzo team, you hear us talking about them because they're growing so fast. Those guys, that whole team is just so excited about the results that they're seeing from this juice. And then once they see that excitement and results, they're talking to people about the business. And so they have a lot of people converting into business builders once they see the power in this juice. And here's a pitfall, and I'm going to talk about pitfall in a second here. But one of the problems that I'm seeing people have out there is they go out there and they share the juice with a lot of people, and they don't see business builders coming out of it yet. And so they think they must be doing something wrong, and so they start to think, well, I've got to go out and find business builders. And then they go out and they try to look for business builders, and they end up not sponsoring anyone at all because we are a product-based business. And we don't have, you know, we're not designed as a compensation plan to put $1,000 into somebody's pocket like some of these front-end loading deals that attract a lot of these guys that all they want to do is make it one time. We want to create a residual income here of people on this juice. And so I can tell you Just keep sharing the juice. The business builders will come, I assure you. What you'll do is you'll get better at working the rest of our system to help convert those people into business builders. You'll get better at getting them on webinars. You'll get better at introducing them to your upline. You'll get better at getting them out to events and doing all the other things that can turn somebody from a product user into a business builder. But you've got to keep sharing that juice. You've got to get the juice, and the best way, fundamentally, is tell your story. This is the thing, guys, right here. We are a storytelling business, and your story has more power than anything else. Your result on the product, or someone you have shared it with, or your reason for wanting to do this as a business, your passion is part of your story. If you would share your story from the heart, if you would write your story down and condense it down, and so that you can deliver it without talking for 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So you can deliver your story. You know, within 10 days, I noticed that 90% of the pain in my sore, cranky left shoulder was gone. I was absolutely amazed. I mean, how many times have I given that product story? That story will get more people's attention. Stories is what grabs people's attention. And then you validate your story by getting them to the website, getting them the information packet. That's basically validation, backup for your story. Your story is the most powerful thing you have at getting people's interest. We can't talk about our success in this business without talking about the power of three. I mean, this was our original foundation of how we built our business is through the power of three, which means your goal should be, and I believe this should still be your goal, is to have three strong legs. And there's lots of different ways to build a business. There is no one way to structure it. We can teach you what has worked for us. So your goal is, and when we're talking about legs, we're talking about a compensation plan structure of putting people in your downline. You see, when we got involved in this in Zango, I got very excited about this compensation plan, because in all the other years in the industry, what we were taught was, listen, if you want to create a six-figure income in network marketing, you're going to need to sponsor at least 100 people in your first couple years. And you want to place all of those 100 people on your first level directly below you, and look for a leader, maybe one or two out of those 100, that'll do the same thing. And you know what? I got sick and tired, because we can bring in a lot of people. And I still believe if you want to be successful, you need to sponsor a lot of people. Most of our premiers have sponsored over 50 people. The great majority have, some over 100 people, right? So you still have to sponsor a lot of people. But I thought, what if you took this whole mentality of going wide and placing people all on your first level and focused it on three legs and drove some momentum deep, okay? What would that do for the business? That would create a lot of momentum. You can place people underneath us. And I got this by looking at Zango's compensation plan and realizing how deep it is. It pays through dynamic compression way more than 9 levels. That is the minimum. I'm telling you what, we're getting paid down 100 levels in some cases here. So you can afford to place people below you. And so I believe you should start with a focus of only no more than 3 people on your first level. And some people are liking to start with one leg and doing what's called a streamline and getting some momentum going before they open their additional legs. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you don't get carried away and you use common sense with your what's called a streamline. But don't get caught thinking that one leg is enough. It is not enough. Even everybody knows that you need to have at least 3 strong legs. And so you've got to be thinking in terms of the power of 3. And we'll do a whole new compensation plan thing. We've got the power of 3 in the back office that you can already look at there. And I'm just adding to say that if you want to start and streamline, which means placing people all one under there until you get some momentum going, until you find some leaders in there, there's nothing wrong with that. But as soon as you get some momentum in there, you better start thinking about your second leg and then your third leg. And basically we have now 4, we have about 6 legs, 4 premier legs. Well, we started with 3. We got all the way to 100K with 3. And I can tell you this, we get paid on just about everybody in our downline. So we don't have to worry about getting cut off still. I wish we did actually have more people outside of our pay line. Okay, we're getting near the end of what we've learned in the last 5 years, and I did an incredible whole call on this about 2 years ago. This was one of those epiphany moments, and I got to talk to you about the number one pitfall, because I'll tell you, the people that have fallen into the pitfall aren't on the call. So I'm warning you about the pitfall and what can happen. And I can tell you, it moves so fast in the drop of a hat that you're gone. And I'll give you an example of where I learned about the pitfall, you know. See, basically, we have a proven system here and a proven track record, don't we? First of all, we know Zango has done $1 billion in sales. So what do we know from that? We know that the company knows what they're doing. We know that with one product, basically, $1 billion, that it must be one heck of a product, right? And obviously the compensation plan must be incredible. Any compensation plan that has paid out $500 million in 5 years in compensation, forgive me, you can't knock our compensation plan that has generated that much commissions for people, 50 cents on the dollar. We know the My Mangosteen system and works, right? And we know that our system that got us to 500K works. And so we know all of the things work, right? The juice is the same for everybody. The company's the same for everybody. The tools are the same for everybody. So there's only one variable, and that's you. You were the variable, right? And so what happens is you have this idea that you're going to build a business, and something happens. And I've described it like this. One negative thought can change your whole life. And I can't get into the whole thing of where that understanding, but it was a great gift that Terry's dad gave to me before he passed, observing him as he came to visit. One negative thought. And so you can be going along with your goals and your dreams in Zango, and maybe you call somebody up that gets angry at you and calls this a scam, right? Or one of your leaders quits and goes into some gas card thing or something like that, you know? Or you invite 20 people out to your juice party and nobody shows up. And the pitfall sets in, which I have described as being doubt. Suddenly you think, well, maybe this doesn't work. I can't do it. Well, you know, I'm a failure. You know, I should have known better. I can't afford it. All of those negative thoughts. And I can tell you this. See, it starts with one thought, one negative thought. And if you don't see it and if you don't catch it, that negative thought can drop you to your knees and you be gone in a heartbeat if you don't recover from it and see it for what it is. Just because you have a thought, it does not mean that it's true. All your thoughts are not true. And that thought may not have been true. And if it is, maybe that's just part of the game. You've got to be able to master your emotional body here to where one bad experience does not destroy your business. Okay? We had this happen. Terry was actually doing a follow-up call about 3 years ago. And we had this new business builder that was really doing a great job, right? Bringing in lots of people excited. I mean, these people were really building a wonderful business. And she was on one of our calls talking about follow-up, and Terry was talking about following up with the people, and she says, that doesn't work, and she hung up from the conference call. And her husband contacted me. She says, I don't know what happened. She just says that follow-up doesn't work, and she hung up, and she got so angry, she doesn't even want to do the business anymore. The lady quit on the spot, right on a conference call, because she said that doesn't work. Well, nothing is perfect here, guys. Nothing works perfectly, right? We're teaching principles here. But that was all it took for her, right? So I want you to watch out for the number one pitfall. Terry, anything you want to add about the pitfall before we close up the call?
I think it's just really important to stay connected with your people and with your downline and to see what they need, where they need help, and where they need support. You know, this is a team effort. I know that when people move from their 5K to their 20K, it's the team that moves them to the 20K. It's not really about them. When Art and I moved from 20K to Premier, our team rallied around us because they knew that we wanted to go to Phuket, Thailand, and they knew that they wanted their dreams and their goals. So, you know, it's really about helping your people. Always remember that. Hold that as your forefront.
You don't get to 500K without a whole team of people that you have to give credit to. I mean, it's not us, is it? All of the people in our downline, those of you listening on this call, have you ever thought that you are part of our dream, that you have helped us achieve our dream? Do you see that our dreams are your dreams and our goals are your goals? Do you see that this is a group accomplishment, that you can take our story and be proud that you were a part of it? That if you people weren't on the call today, that we might not be where we are? If Rod and Shannon Culp had said no, maybe I'd have fallen into the pitfall before I even got started, that his support for my idea might have been the reason that I was able to carry on, even though I was in shock over losing my income, and the Sardas and all of the leaders that have followed, you know, that have all supported, and their people and people's people. It's a whole team achievement here. Now, I'm going to give you, as number 10 principle, one of the ultimate keys to our success. And I believe this is something that you've got to do, and that I believe that one of the reasons that we're so successful is because we do this better than anyone else in our downline. And I don't like to make those kind of comments without really forethought, because that's a big, brave statement to say. We know about the power of focus. And it's focus that got us to 500K. I can tell you that. Focus. What is focus? You know, I got this little picture of this kid. Have anybody seen the power of a magnifying glass when it's focused correctly to be able to start a fire? What good is that magnifying glass laying down on the ground? It's not going to do anything, right? You've got to hold it in the correct direction to the sun, and by focusing the power of that magnifying glass, which is focusing the waves coming through here, you can light a fire. And focus is like that. And so this is the problem that you're going to run into. You have jobs out there. You have wives. You have relationships. You've got to hold your focus on your business if you want to be successful. You're going to have distractions. You're going to have disappointment. You've got to hold your focus on your dreams. And when Uncle Charlie quits AutoShip, you know, and gets off of it, and you're disappointed, you say, that's fine. There's other Charlies out there. I've got my dream. I've got my goal. Who's next? And let's get on the phone and get somebody new. Because if you don't hold your focus, you could fall right down into the pitfall. Now, I will say this. You can only do one business in network marketing at a time. I don't do any affiliate programs. I don't look at any other deals, okay? I know in 20-plus years that I've never, ever, not once, seen anyone build two networks at once. They inevitably go into management team on one and collect a check while they build something else, but it never does work. You don't have enough focus to build two networks, and some of you don't have enough focus to build one. So that's why I don't do anything else, and I don't like the people out there on the internet that are trying to pretend that, hey, you can do this and do that too, or get involved in this lead program that has a commission structure and feed it into your downline. Well, next thing you know, now you're selling leads instead of Zango. And do you want to be in the lead business? You should ask yourself. So I don't sign up at anything else. I don't look at anything else. We had a CEO of a network marketing company call us 2 weeks ago and offer to send out his plane to fly us up to Idaho to have a look at what we're doing. And I said, no thanks, not interested. I've got the best thing in network marketing now. We've done $1 billion in sales. The founders are my friends. Why would I look at anything else? This is our dream come true. So you've got to hold your focus through the ups and the downs, the disappointments. Hold your focus on sponsoring. Hold your focus on follow-up. Hold your focus on getting packets out. Holding your focus on getting events and juice parties going. You know, and I've seen these 30-day wonders come in. Gosh, I had this guy from Canada came in and lit it up for 30 days, sponsored all of these people, and quit. after 30 days. And you know what? That downline went on for months. And a whole group came in. It went all across to Hong Kong and everything. And eventually it did peter out because it had no leadership. And I thought to myself, Herb, that action and intensity that you did for 30 days, all you needed to do was hold your focus for 12 to 24 months, and you would be a rich man. But instead, you could only hold your focus for 30 days, and I guarantee you, right now, he's just as broke as he was when he started. And so, I love to talk about focus, can't you tell? We got to wrap it up. We are out of time. So what did you do last week? Are you actually working your business? Look in the mirror. What did you do last week? Want some hints on what and how to see what you did last week? You want to make a list of the new contacts that you made this week? Would you like to make a list of the number of website invites you did? Have you got a list of the number of info packs that went out this week? How many three-way calls did you do this week? How many people did you invite to this webinar? How many have you attended this week? Have you committed to an event? Have you decided to go to convention? Have you decided to have a juice party? Have you made some kind of a commitment this week to move your business forward? How many follow-up calls have you done to prospects this week? How many follow-up calls have you done to your downline this week? This is your mirror. This is whether you're building your business or not. If I had time, I would have you count up all of these here, and I'd give a big prize to the person that has the most of these, because this is what builds the business. Massive action solves all problems. And the law of diminishing intent says that if you don't get into action immediately, then you start to lose your intention to actually build a business. And so we've given you an incredible training today, culmination of 5 years of experience. If you don't, within 7 days, act on any of this information, then you've just watched the movie. It was interesting. It's nice. Terry and Art did well. But without any action, your intent to change your business and move it forward will diminish. Two last announcement here. We have a new Getting Started tab. What do you want to do when you get a new person started? You want to send them to becomingapremier.com and send them to the Getting Started tab. We have a new formation here I want you to have a look at. There's 3 different webinars that we feel like are the essence of what new people need to know right there. And we got Dr. Tula every Wednesday night, powerful webinars. Bring doctors onto. Why aren't you inviting doctors onto the Dr. Tula webinar? Does that make sense? Why aren't you bringing people that want to learn more about the product on the Dr. Tula webinar? And for the grand announcement, yes, we're having an incredible call next Saturday webinar, a glimpse pre-launch call. And I got time to really build this call up, but if you have any intention of expanding your business into Glimpse, then you want to bring new people on this call. New people that are interested in looking at Glimpse, not just as a product, but more from the business angle. This is going to be more business focused. Yes, we'll talk about the product. Gary and Beverly Hollister will be on there. Yes, we'll talk about the incredible technology that we have. We'll talk about what's in it and what's not in it. But we're also going to talk about the cosmetic industry, and we're going to talk about where do we position ourselves. If you've got anyone that you know of that is interested in Glimpse, get them on this webinar, and we're going to have the notice of an invitation that you can email out to people coming out later this afternoon. So you don't want to miss that. Terry, any last thoughts before we close up the call?
Well, I'm just amazed that our 5 years has been so amazing, so incredible. I wanted to thank our team and our downline and thank all of Zango and thank the founders. I mean, they have such a big heart. It's just an amazing thing that we are in the position that we are in, and I bless you all out there.
Okay, thanks a lot, Terry. I appreciate all of you guys. Thanks for helping us achieve our dreams. Guess what our goal is now? Helping you achieve your dreams. Why are we still on webinars here? We want you to succeed too. And so we want to help you any way that we can. Thank you all for coming on the webinar. And so we're going to open up the lines so that we can say thank you and goodbye. And, of course, yes, Convention, Salt Lake City. See you there. The launch of Glimpse, November 6th to 9th. Get your hotel rooms. Book your tickets now. Space is going fast. So thank you all.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, everybody.